Hello everyone, this is ponderonweather. In this update, we've got the remnants of Tropical Storm K going to be impacting parts of the southwest, as well as heavy rain moves into the southeast as a decent cold front drops in the midsection of the country. Then out west, a much bigger cool down comes by the middle of next week, and even a bigger storm system comes by next weekend. Welcome back everyone. How's it going? This is your morning update. I appreciate all my followers out there and the new followers. So if you do like detailed weather breakdowns on North America and the tropics, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and notification bell to get all my daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. So let's get right to the overall water vapor imagery this morning. And you can tell it sticks out like a sore thumb. That is Hurricane Earl out there in the open waters. Look at that powerful eye. That's a Category 2 hurricane, but luckily that is moving safely out to sea. Then we have another powerful low pressure center off the coast of the Florida Panhandle. That's bringing some heavier rains. While this low pressure shifts off west, we've got drier air filtering on the backside, so much cooler conditions and even nicer conditions, less muggier conditions for parts of Oklahoma and Texas. While we have this powerful Hurricane K that's now Tropical Storm K, the remnants are going to be impacting parts of California, as well as we have a fairly decent sized cold front going to be dropping down from the midsection of the country into the portions of the Central Plains, bringing some much cooler conditions. So let's take you through the overall setup out in the tropics. So here's Hurricane Earl. It is a powerful Category 2 hurricane. Then we have the remnants of K coming on shore of parts of the southwest. Well, we've got about 3 bananas out here, right? We got 3 bananas coming off the coast of Africa there. So we got a long ways to track these, but we're going to be having what these call these invests that are going to be coming off the coast of Africa, as we're in the heart of hurricane season. So we'll be watching everything that comes our way. So let's zoom into the hazard map, because we're still dealing with the heat out west with much, excessive heat warnings and watches in place. But yes, we even have flood watches down here with the remnants of K, portions of Arizona, as well as southwestern portions of California, even parts of Vegas actually under that flood watch. And down here off the coast, yes, that is a high wind warning. So we're expecting some fairly significant impacts from the remnants of K. And out here in the purple, that is actually a freeze warning, as this is a pretty decent cold front for this time of year is going to be dropping southward, and some of these areas could actually drop to freezing, especially in the higher elevations. Because we look at some of the air temperatures this morning. Look at all that blue with widespread 30s in parts of Montana. And there's even some freezing temperatures up here into the higher elevations. You're talking 9,000 feet up in the atmosphere. But those cooler conditions will be filtered down into portions of Wyoming, as well as back into the Rockies. And much cooler conditions going to be filtering, especially in the midsection of the country, while we have instability out west and instability out east. In the midsection of the country, it's fairly dry. But back behind it, we could actually have some snow, because it's going to be cold enough to snow in some of the higher elevations. So we've got snow falling into portions of Alaska, but as it traverses south, yeah, we could be looking at a couple inches of snow in portions of Montana, but especially as you get into Wyoming, up in, again, some of the higher elevations, yeah, it's not out of the question today. We could be looking at several inches of snow, and some of that actually could filter into portions of the Rockies as well over the next day or two along that cold front, with that massive drop in temperatures you saw lately. So, but let's zoom in to the portions of California and some of these winds, because this is definitely a concern, especially along the coast here, because that's why they've got those high wind warnings in place today, with some of these estimated wind gusts in San Diego around 53 miles an hour. So you're talking with that high wind warning, you've got sustained winds of 30 to 40 miles an hour, but some of these areas could be upwards to approaching 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. You see some maxing out at 81 miles an hour. So yeah, look at some of the sporadic locations around here in places into Anaheim, 48-mile-per-hour winds. So yeah, definitely this is going to be an east slope wind, right? So we have high wind warnings in place starting at 6 o'clock this morning on Friday, extending all the way throughout the day, expiring around midnight on Friday night, and then the heavier rains start to move in on Friday night, extending into Saturday. The further north you go into portions of Los Angeles. But let's take a look at the overall rain amounts, because yeah, some of these areas do have, in fact, a moderate risk in place. So, you know, places like San Diego, they've only received 2.5 inches of rainfall for the entire year, and they could be picking up 1 to 3 inches from this system. So we're talking about the entire year rain amount that you've seen all year long. We could be picking up some one in just one system. So that's why they do have some of those moderate risk of flash flooding in place, because it could fall too fast. So some of these areas from Yuma to Palm Springs to San Diego, right along the coast here, and this will extend into Los Angeles too. I think the heavier rains start on Friday night, but they will extend into Saturday, and those will also extend into portions of Phoenix, as well as Vegas are under that slight risk for excessive rainfall. But off here along the southeast, we do have that low pressure center that's moving offshore, so that's going to bring some heavier rains along with it. That's why they've got that slight risk in place in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, back into Georgia and the Florida Panhandle. And then really right along the coast here around Savannah, you'll be picking up some heavier rainfall from this system. And like I mentioned, this extends into your Saturday time frame. So a little bit lighter amounts, but as it moves further north, we're going to be wringing out the remnants of what's left of Tropical Storm K and bringing those heavier rains, this time in portions of Los Angeles, extending further north as this low pressure center will move inland as well, bringing some of those heavier rains. Now we're talking places into South Carolina, getting into North Carolina. This will eventually creep into portions of Virginia and West Virginia. And then the midsection of the country, there's our cold front, right? So it has more instability the further north you live, but as it travels further south in the Central Plains, and especially as it gets into Oklahoma and Texas, there's really not going to be that much precipitation left with this system. So overall, for the next 48 hours, here are some of your preliminary rain amounts as we move forward, where the rain could be. There's the remnants of Tropical Storm K going to safely remain offshore, but it's going to have that steep slope wind with those high winds and pushing in all that tropical moisture inland. So that's why they do have those moderate risk and slight risk excessive rainfall in place, but that's going to be extending all the way to portions of Central California. So definitely be on high alert from this system, as you could be having some impacts over the next day or two. And then again, right along the coast here in the southeast, essentially from Louisiana all along the southeast and the deep south, lifting further north as the low pressure lifts further north, having that instability. And then there's the cold front. So by the time we get into Sunday, I think the higher rain amounts really are talking places in like Wisconsin. But as they move further south, again, the moisture gets limited and it gets basically next to nothing, well, as you get further south in portions of Texas. So, but here's the setup for Sunday. So as we have the remnants of Tropical Storm K going to be basically petering itself out, essentially, we're going to have that cold front. Again, further south it goes. It doesn't really have that much moisture to work with, but we do have ample moisture as we get into portions of Wisconsin. So I feel like Sunday could be a rainy day for a good chunk of Wisconsin, and that will be in the tail end of that, portions of Iowa, portions of Illinois as well. We still have that low pressure center off into the Gulf moving inland by now. Then now the heavier rains will be lifting further north, extending into portions of Pennsylvania, getting into upstate New York, where they're going to be getting some of those moderate rains as on the day on Sunday. So you can really see by Monday, as the cold front continues to shift further south, all the brown shaded areas, that's essentially your drier air mass. And this is a dark brown, so there's not much moisture to wring out. And that precipitation, you can see by Sunday, most of everything is going to be pretty much gone from the remnants of K. It'll already left as impacts by then, so you'll start drying out a good chunk of the Southwest from the remnants of K by then. But as this other low pressure center will continue to lift further north, and as it does, and as it weakens, it tends to elongate, and as it does, it will have its wind fields more or less spread out even further and further and further as it will continue to lift up into Canada, bringing the moisture along with it by the time we get into Monday. So, but on the backside, it's like I mentioned, we got a lot of drier air in the backside. And these are dew points. These aren't temperatures, but I just wanted to show you this time of year, we've been talking heat index forever. So it's definitely comfortable to see some of these lower dew points in the 40s, if not almost in the 30s for in the afternoon time frame. So that is indicative of some very dry air, and that means comfortable air for this time of year. That actually means a taste of fall for a good chunk of at least the middle part of the country. But yeah, you can see there's not much moisture left on the backside. Cold fronts tend to clear out everything on the backside, and that's exactly what this is going to be. So you have all the instability on the front end, but once the cold front will move through, you've got severe clear on the back end. And the only really rain showers by the time we get into Monday are really going to be right off the coast where that low pressure center will be, and that will continue to lift up in Canada by then. But by Tuesday, with that cold front kind of losing its luster, moving further south, then as the winds turn around this time of year, it doesn't take much. As the winds turn around from the south, boom, you got the ridge of high pressure going to be building back in. So I do feel like the ridge of high pressure is going to be a quick cool down, and then it's going to be a rapid warm up as we get into the middle of next week, with this high pressure going to be building on Tuesday and be really expanding by the time we get into your Wednesday time frame. So by Thursday, there's definitely some signs of change out west. So you've been waiting for that cool down. So as we get towards the middle of the month, as we've been highlighting on my September outlook, but if you can hang in there for the first 2 weeks, the last half of September is going to be a lot nicer for the good chunk out west and much cooler conditions. We can even be talking about some rain coming back for the Pacific Northwest as well. But that'll be the significant change coming in the middle of next week, with this trough that's going to be diving in out west, while much of the other central and eastern 2/3 of the country are locked under that ridge of high pressure. And I think an even more significant trough starts to build in by next weekend, bringing much cooler conditions and rain. Yes, rain coming back for the Pacific Northwest. Places like Washington, Oregon, Idaho, places you've been a while since you've seen some rain. It's going to be finally coming back for you. And this could be setting up for a pretty strong storm system as we get deeper into next weekend, because we got a powerful vorticity coming down off the west coast, and this is by the middle of the month. So typically we start to see that, and with our second season of severe weather season starting to come to light. So we'll have to be watching how all this involves, but we already were seeing some tight isobars starting to set up, as well as the 850 millibar. We've got a pretty powerful storm system and a powerful jet that's going to be coming across. We've got a lot of lift, so we could be looking at some severe weather starting to break out in the midsection of the country. And what's this down here? Yeah, we could be looking at deja vu all over again as the Eastern Pacific continues to remain active. And we could be looking at yet another storm hanging off the coast of the Baja California. Again, possibly coming up and taking a similar track. So we'll be watching this closely, as well as definitely the Eastern Pacific continues to remain active. So we'll break this thing down for you for the next 5 days between now and the middle of next week. All the instability is going to be in the southwest region, where all the rain with the remnants of K, drier further to the north, and then we have that cold front that's going to be dropping further south. Heavier rains into portions of Wisconsin, lighter amounts as you extend further south. So there's not much rain to speak of once you get to Oklahoma and a good chunk of Texas. But all the low pressure center, with that low in the Gulf right now, bringing those heavier rains along the southeast. But as we extend the view from the middle of next week to next weekend, we do have that powerful trough that's going to be digging in, bringing the rains back to the Pacific Northwest. And as that gains instability by then, we could be looking at some stronger storms starting to set up over portions of Montana, Idaho, back into Utah. And this, I think, will propagate and move, setting up, as we get deeper into that 19th and 20th time frame going into the the latter part of next weekend. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.